this air out. There's a little bit more water. Now it's raining outside, if you can hear a noise. Good old British winter. Right. That's better. I can feel that it's a lot flatter. And now I need to get some nice soap into the mixture. So I'm going to get my soap and I'm going to wet my hands. A little bit of water on my hands. Lather up my soap. And you can just run your soap gently over the top. Get plenty of soap into that water because it helps to open out the scales. Squeeze that over. Now, if you're worried about any of your design moving a little bit, you'll be able to tweak it in a few minutes. And get plenty of soap in, just gently easing in. Now you carry on rubbing in the soap like this, unless you have one of these, and then you can use this, and that helps, as you'll see, quickly to lather it. And if you're pressing down quite firmly, you're not moving any of your picture. Now my picture is slightly over the bamboo mat at the moment. It's not worrying me because if necessary, if the edges don't felt properly, I might be cutting it down anyway. So just going to give that a good going over with the soap. You can see the soap moving. Now I'm just going to check whether my picture has moved. So I'm just going to peel off. Now if you have a look at the corners here, you just got to pull down the felt. You see it's starting to make a single layer. Pull it up from there and just check that everything is in place. Now if you wanted to move anything, you could either take the very end of a dry felted needle or a piece of wire and just tease anything back that might have moved. I actually haven't got anything that's moved as far as I can see at the moment. That's quite firm. Mine's not a very detailed picture, so nothing really needs pushing back into shape on there. And then now we need to do the complete soaping, because what we need to do is we get this picture into a piece of fabric. It's made into a piece of fabric, so we're going to keep putting more soap, and then we're going to rub this up and down. We're going to get plenty of soap into the picture. We'll be rinsing this all out later. Go around the edges. Be careful how you're leaning if necessary, unlike what I've done today. If your table's quite low, put the legs on top of some books to bring it up, because what you don't want to do is what I'm doing is leaning over and causing yourself to have back pain. Lift the work up so that you can do this straight. In fact, I'm going to change my work around tomorrow, and I'm going to put some very heavy coffee table type books underneath the legs of my chair and my table, I mean my work table, and bring it up to a slightly higher height. It's important because you're going to be bending over these things and rolling it shortly, and it's important you don't hurt yourself. Right. Keep pushing away. I'm not sure that those green strands are going to stay in place, but because I'm not too worried about this being a solid wet felt picture, if necessary at the end I can use my needle felting to needle felt in anything that's not quite firm, and then use my embroidery to sew over it. So it's a case of using all the different media available to you, rather than feeling you have to do it all as wet felting. Use all the things you might have learnt and bring it all to the table. That's quite good. That's working well. If you want to have one of these later on, I'll put it in the comments at the bottom. But I think I bought this from Wingham Wools. I'll check and I'll put the details below. But you can get what they call like this, a moolie or a moo. You can also get Moy Mackay, the artist. She sells them. They're made out of resin. Or you can just get something much cheaper than that. You can, if I can find one to show you, I will do. No, I've misplaced what I was going to show you. You can get these little rolling pins that are made out of wood for cutting pasta shapes, and you can use those over it as well. I might find it later. I did have it out here, but can't find it at the moment. I'm sure you can use that to go over it to agitate the wool, but your hands are perfectly good. The other way is to get a scrubble of the bubble wrap, put it into a ball and just rub it over like that, and that will help to move all the strands of the wool together as well. Now, table could get very wet. If it's too wet, just soak it up by putting your sponge, which I'm going to just get hold of here. You can always soak up a bit of the water now that you've forced the air out, and just get rid of it in your sponge. Try to keep, unlike me today because I'm doing this video, keep your drywall out of the way of the wet, because you don't want to get your wool, you want to keep another occasion wet before you need it. I didn't, so I've got some of my curly locks over there getting splashed. Right, now you can peel off again, just pulling it up gently. This netting works really well, and this tulle netting, very thin tulle netting, or tulle I think they call it, is very, very good. Right, now I'm just going to pinch the painting just to see whether the wool is holding together. It does seem to be. It's not very wet felted yet. It does seem to be holding together quite well. So I'm going to rub it a little bit more to get it together, and then I'm going to do some rolling as well to bring it together. I'm going to add some soap. My hands first, because you want the moolie to slide, or your hands to slide over this without making too much movement on the pattern. So plenty of soap, as you can see it lathers up as I'm doing this. Plenty of soap makes that work better. Going at this for as long as you like, really, keep getting better and better. I'm going to the next stage at this point. Right, done that. Now what I'm going to do, it's peeling away much easier. I'm going to move that out of the way for a second. I'm just going to pick the edges off and see whether that's forming a solid piece, which it's started to do. Now what I'm going to do, I'm getting another bit of bubble wrap to place over the top so that it doesn't get stuck into itself, into the fibres, and then I'm going to roll it up in my bamboo mat. Now, because this picture's got a bit bigger than my existing bamboo mat, I'm going to move it slightly over, and I'm going to overlap it with another one. Let me try and find one. Here's another one. I'm going to put another one down here and interlace this together so that I've got the width that I'm looking for. crucial, but I'd like to get all the ends done if possible to try and get the most out of it. Now you can see this is all coming along as one piece now, almost like a piece of material that you can pick up. But be very careful because it's very fragile at this stage, so it's not going to last. Right, I'm going to put another little bit of bubble wrap over the top. There we go. I'll hold it getting tangled in itself, and then I'm going to just fold that together, and I'm going to roll this up with the bamboo mat, and it will move forward a bit as it squeezes out. Like that, and like that. And the idea is just to get to a nice long roll. I'm going to get my bowl, which has got my bits in it. And I'm going to just get rid of some of the water in there. Or it's going to be very sticky. At the other end. Right, get rid of some of that. And then we're going to roll this like this. Now you could roll this in a small towel to help you, which I will do. I've just got a tea towel handy here at the moment. An ordinary little hand towel will do. Just to roll it. So I basically made a rolling up parcel, and then I'm going to roll it. Now, millions of different versions on the internet. Some say 100, some say 50, some say 25. I think it really depends, and I'm going to take a chair and sit down here, which you can't see in the shot, because I've got the table too low. You really just want to get as much of it as you can. The more you roll this before you pull it out and check it, the better. So I'm going to do lots of rolls. Now, you're meant to push your hands forward like that to stop your back aching. I'm going to do it like this because I find that works for me. Lots of short rolls. Turning it every few rolls, a quarter of a turn round. And what's happening is the wool is moving against itself, causing little bits of friction, joining up all the scales and making it into a solid piece. So we hope. You'll feel the outside of the towel getting a bit damp as the water works its way through, but the bubble wrap will hold it mostly into place, and we'll move that when we feel that the piece has got a bit more integrity and won't get tangled up in the bamboo mat. If you didn't have the bamboo mat, then you could do this just with the two pieces of bubble wrap, and then you could put, to give you something, a roller like this, an icing rolling pin or a long rolling pin without the end of the handles. Put that inside as you roll it, which will give you the stability and the hardness to do it. If you've got the bamboo mats, they help to put a rigidity into this roll, and you can keep rolling it and rolling it. And I'm going to put this on fast for a second. Right, now we're going to unroll it and take it apart a little bit and see how it's doing inside. So, gently as you unroll it, like back, like back, like back. And mine's got a little bit squidged up in here with the mat. It's a good time sometimes to put a piece of bubble wrap underneath where the mat is, and it won't get quite so caught up in the mat. Right, now because I've been rolling it in one direction, it will have gone much more squat and it's starting to shrink. One or two of these bits haven't adhered. I'm not going to worry about that. I'll pull those off. I can make some extra bits in needle felting. Right, now what I'm going to do now is take out the mat that we don't need. Take one of these out. I think I'll keep the dark one. I'm going to get rid of this one. If you notice that now this is actually almost like one piece of material. It doesn't take long for this to happen. You can see the drips and the water. Be very careful you're doing what I'm doing, because obviously I know it's into one piece. Now I've turned it around because I'm going to roll it in the other direction. It shrinks in the direction that you rolled it in. So if you look, that's shrunk down to there. It's quite squat, and I want to make it coming in at the sides as well, so it gets in equal proportion. And I'm going to do that now. Put a little bit of this darker bamboo mat, won't adhere to it quite so much, so it'll be a bit closer. Put that other piece of bubble wrap there, and I'm just going to roll it just with the one bubble wrap over the top and not the one underneath, because I don't need it to be quite so firm, because the actual material has started to make itself into material. So I'm going to get rid of this extra piece, move that usual to the floor, mucky floor, and then I'm going to roll this again for a good amount of time. Then I'm going to turn it around again, because this is obviously my second turning. So really you want to turn it so you roll it from all four sides, and do sort of about between 50 and 100 rolls each side. So I'm going to fast forward all that process now. After completing all the rolls, which I haven't videoed all of them because I'm running out of storage room on my iPad, you end up with a much smaller picture. As you can see, it's shrunk in all four directions as I've turned that around. And at the moment there's not much definition in there, because obviously it's much of a sort of blurred general sort of shot with the flower heads. But that can be brought into much more fast relief with some stitching and embroidery, which I'll be doing, and then taking some photos of the end piece. But what you have got here is an integral part of the process, because we have got a very firm piece of felt. If you look on the back, colours are starting to show through, and the front there is all thick. And if I squidge that together like this and I open it out, I've got a very strong piece of felt. I'm going to now take this and I'm going to soak it in a little bit of warm water to get rid of the soap, with a small capful of vinegar, which will help to restore the pH of the piece. Then I'm going to let it dry overnight, and eventually I will then, when it's dry, start off the video showing the third stage, which is basically to embroider and to needle felt some of the detail that you want in over the top. Thank you.